All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rahak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, laboring in His truth in all sincerity. Ecclesiasticus 12:10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. This is off of Twitter from an account Nationwide 90FM. A 40-member Israeli medical team arrived in Jamaica on Wednesday to support the country's recovery efforts in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. So you see the doctors there. We'll get a better look at them here. And this is the team of doctors. Some of them that doesn't quite look like 40 there, but they are sending 40 doctors to help with relief efforts in Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa. We'll scroll in a little bit. And these are these fine, upstanding doctors here who have volunteered or have been voluntold that they are going down to Jamaica to help with these efforts. Let's take a real good look at them here. And yeah, So if you understand how a camera works, a camera shoots out a burst of light. And that flash that you see, that burst of light that you actually see on the camera, it takes about 1/1000th or even 1/200th of a second. So we're talking incredible speed that light is moving. And that light captures a whole lot of stuff. If you ever take a picture and just study that picture, look at the background of everything you see in that picture, and you'll be surprised at the things that you may actually see because that light, that flash picks up a whole lot there. So let's take a look at some of these people here, man. Let's scroll in just a little bit more. We'll zoom in, just a little bit more. Yeah, look at the soulfulness of those eyes there, yeah, more. Look at the soulfulness right there of those eyes. You can see just the soul. Look at that. Man, the eyes are the windows to the soul. That's an old cliche there. So when we keep looking, look at that. Look at that good wholesome grin right there on him. Nothing nefarious there. Yeah, look at the eyes. Look at that gleam in his eyes right there. Look at that. Yeah, she looks thrilled to be volunteering to go down there. Once again, look at the gleam in her eyes. Yeah. Once again, she looks thrilled herself. All right, she know. All right, there we go. The purple hair. Once you start seeing nurses and stuff with purple hair and tattoos on their neck and stuff, sometimes you gotta wonder, if this is the person I want operating on me. I'm just being honest. But just wanted to give you a quick glimpse of some of the members of this team that seem to be going down. Once again, we see here Israel sends medical team to assist in hurricane relief effort. So there you have it. That's the team who will be going down to Jamaica to assist. So let's get back, and now we'll read a little bit of this article here. This article comes from revonews.ai/news. And of course, they want to put an ad on it. This was published on November 6th at approximately 8:58 a.m. Israel sends medical team to assist in hurricane relief efforts. A 40-member Israeli medical team arrived in Jamaica on Wednesday to support the country's recovery efforts in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. The deployment brings together doctors, nurses, and medical specialists who will work alongside local health teams and hospitals designated by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The mission aims to bolster Jamaica's national response, particularly in treating evacuees and managing emergency cases in storm-affected areas. The humanitarian effort was organized under the direction of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in collaboration with Israel's Ministries of Health and Foreign Affairs, following an invitation from Jamaica's Ministry of Health and Wellness. Kind of reminds me of that movie Sinners, where the vampires, they really couldn't get a hold of you or really had no power over you unless you invited them in. So once again, the humanitarian effort was organized under the direction of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in collaboration with Israel's Ministries of Health and Foreign Affairs, following an invitation from Jamaica's Ministry of Health and Wellness. This partnership is built on compassion, friendship, and a shared commitment to humanity, Ambassador Abu Rukin said. So I think you get the message. Once again, this is on revonews.ai. This was published yesterday, November 6, 2025, 8:58 a.m. In case anyone wants to read it, the author is Ricardo Brooks. So I was curious as to who was Jamaica's Minister of Health and Wellness. Jamaica's Minister of Health and Wellness, the guy who invited this particular team here. His name is Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton. He has held the position since March 2016 and also serves as the Member of Parliament for West Central St. Catherine. And I don't know this brother's intentions. I'm pretty sure, he's doing what he feels is absolutely best for his country. And if his efforts and his thoughts are sincere, then, I do really wish him well in this endeavor. Those are Benjamites there. Those are our brothers. And so we do wish them very well. And we hope that, especially if there's brothers of the elect there, we definitely hope everything is fine. So I did a little more digging on him as well. And we'll go straight to his particular website, Meet Dr. Chris Tufton. That is him there. It's kind of blurred out with the article on top of his picture, but Dr. Christopher Tufton is a renowned Jamaican leader with a proven track record of success in building and leading high-performing teams, developing innovation solutions to complex problems, and inspiring others to achieve their full potential. I'll scroll down a little bit more. For example, Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Dr. Tufton spearheaded a revolution in the agriculture sector by introducing cutting-edge greenhouse farming technology and innovative agro processing methodologies. This visionary leadership helped to boost Jamaica's agricultural productivity and exports. So this is a very intelligent brother, very productive, and like I said, I do believe that he's doing what he has to do, to get his country back on track again. For that, if those efforts are sincere, I do commend him. Once again, Benjamin is one of the 12 tribes of Israel. But the timing here is what I'm focused on, because this is right on schedule for Jacob's trouble. And we do understand that right now the Northern Kingdom is dealing with their issues as far as deportations and whole families coming up missing all of a sudden. No one knows where anyone is being taken. People haven't heard from family members. So they're dealing with their own issues regarding Jacob's trouble. And now it's affecting the southern tribes as well, starting with this particular hurricane here, Hurricane Melissa, which was very devastating, left a lot of damage in its wake. And we also know what's happening with Levi and Judah, who make up the rest of the southern kingdom here. And so you have to start thinking about, the team that you're sending here. And I start to wonder if this particular, the Minister of uh wellness, if he's making a hasty decision here, the Minister of Health and Wellness, sometimes you start wondering if this was the absolute best thing you could do. And this kind of takes me to Ecclesiasticus 2:2. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. And once again, like I said, this is right on schedule with Jacob's trouble. This is going to be a time that is like never been seen before. We haven't experienced this level of trouble that we are about to face here. And you want to make sure, as the scripture says, set thy heart aright and constantly endure. I know that the people of Benjamin, that's a very strong people there. They have very strong will, very strong spirits. And you start to wonder if you needed a team from another hemisphere to come in to provide relief efforts, which is why the scripture says, make not haste in time of trouble. And like I said, I'm just wondering if this was a hasty decision, if this was the only group of people you could have gotten to come in there to help you. And like I said, this wasn't them volunteering. You invited them. They were invited in there. So let's look at Ecclesiasticus. Go back to verse 12 and 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not altogether wiped away. Exactly. We can think of some very modern instances here where this same particular group of, not the same exact particular group of doctors and nurses here, but let's look at some past things that happened very recently here. Of course, this is from the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York. There's the donate button in the top right hand corner. In case any of them come across this particular video, they can't say that I did not have the courtesy to at least shout out their donate button. So if you want to donate, there it is. This article was from January 21st, 2010. The big lie of Israeli organ harvesting resurfaces re-Haiti earthquake. New York, New York, January 21st, 2010, in a disturbing illustration of what can happen when one person takes a message of hate and incitement to the internet. The big lie of Israeli organ harvesting for profit has again resurfaced and gone global practically overnight, according to the ADL. Claims that the IDF mobile hospital unit in Haiti may be involved in stealing organs were first made in a video posted on YouTube by a Seattle man who identified himself as T West of, and there goes his YouTube page. So basically, major earthquake in Haiti. The state of Israel sends a relief team in there, and accusations start flying of organ harvesting. Of course, this particular site, the ADL, along with the ADL, I should say, they jumped right in front of it and basically says that's one big lie. No organ harvesting there. Okay, we'll take your word for it. Let's look at another example. The state of Israel sent a rescue team into Turkey. And this was after major flooding, if I'm correct. And the Israeli team that was sent in there was accused of smuggling 2 scrolls of the book of Esther from Turkey, following the February 2023 earthquake. So here it is on AI overview. Yes, an Israeli rescue team known as Zaka, ZAKA, was accused of smuggling 2 scrolls of the Book of Esther from Turkey following the February 23 earthquake. The texts were reportedly handed over for safekeeping by a local to a team member, but the removal without permission caused outrage in Turkey and prompted an investigation. The scrolls were later returned to Turkey by the team. The incident, an Israeli emergency response team, Zaka, took 2 historic scrolls of the Book of Esther from the damaged Antakya synagogue in Hatay, Turkey. The justification, according to Israeli media, a local Turkish citizen handed the scrolls to a team member for safekeeping to prevent them from being looted or damaged by the earthquake. I'll read the justification again. According to the Israeli media, a local Turkish citizen handed the scrolls to a team member for safekeeping to prevent them from being looted or damaged by the earthquake. The controversy: the team was accused of smuggling the text, and the action caused a public outcry in Turkey. The Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism confirmed that the anti-smuggling department began an investigation. The resolution: after the controversy, the scrolls were returned to Turkey and handed over to the country's chief rabbi in Istanbul. So, we have 2 different sides of the story here. Turkey is stating that these guys were supposed to come in and help us, but instead they smuggled out some ancient scrolls from the Book of Esther. Of course, there's 2 sides to every story, actually 3. The Israeli team basically stated, no, one of the locals handed it to us for safekeeping. So I'm not going to make up anyone's mind. You can come up with your own rationalization or opinion of what happened there. And of course, we all know this story about the Israeli Ethiopian birth control to be examined. This was when the state of Israel was accused of taking in some Ethiopian immigrants, and without their consent or their knowing, they were injected with some type of temporary birth control. Israel's health ministry is to investigate why contraceptive injections were widely given to Ethiopian immigrant women. A new committee will look into allegations that this was done in a deliberate attempt to reduce births in the Ethiopian Israeli community. It suggested immigrants were given shots without their full consent. At the time, health officials flatly denied this was a policy. So we see a little pattern here, where every time these guys are tasked or put themselves in a position to help someone, a controversy comes out of that. It's always their side versus the other side and explanations. So you can make up your own decision there. But just going back to that scripture. Oh, and by the way, that was from BBC.com. This article was published February 28th, 2013. So back to Ecclesiasticus 12 and 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Let's read the last part of that again. Lest he seek to take thy seat. And though at the last remember my words. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Pricked therewith basically meaning you're going to be pierced or stung. That's more in the literal sense of the word pricked, to be pierced or stung. But this is probably more of a figurative meaning here, meaning you'll be greatly affected, or you'll have some level of regret or guilt as a result of not heeding the words here. Never trust thine enemy. Verse 10. For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Once again, verse 12 now. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. So, and be pricked therewith, basically having regret or guilt. But now that I reread that and seeing what the situation is here, they might literally get pricked too. They might be going down there with all types of jab treatments. So yeah, you just can't trust these dudes. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Let's jump down to verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. And you see it happening now. You understand, like they go in there and they act like they're helping you. They're sending all types of humanitarian aid to give you a hand, but they're really messing your whole shit up. He will not be satisfied with blood. You see it right now in that area of the world that where they're bombing these people. He's not satisfied with the fact that there's tens of thousands of like dead babies all over the place. He's not satisfied with that blood. He wants that land. He wants the state to be known as Greater Israel. They're moving on. They think they're moving on their own timetable. They're trying to race the Most High, basically. But he's not satisfied. He will not be satisfied with blood. And you clearly see that happening right now. They're not satisfied with just killing these people. They're doing what they have to do. It has been like, at least in the 9 months that Trump has been in office, I could have sworn I've heard at least 2 or 3 ceasefires. And damn near like 8 hours later, they're always bombing them again. He's not satisfied with blood. Verse 17, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. So if you're thinking these people are going in there with good intentions, heed the words of this particular chapter here, Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, starting from verse 10 on down, basically. He is going there to undermine thee. That's what this is. This is their opportunity to grab land, resources. They're going there to scope this thing out here. They're trying to see just how much damage was done. Next thing you know, they're sending in their investors. They're there to help, to undermine thee. Not help, definitely not help. They're there to undermine thee, although he pretend to help. And I'll end this with verse 18. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. Basically, he's deceitful. He's an enemy pretending to help, but he's going to eventually reveal his true form. He's going to eventually reveal his true nature, and he's going to reveal the exact reason why he's going there. These guys are in a whole war right now. Well, not even a war. It's more so one-sided. It's really the G word, but they're still finding time to, basically this is a PR maneuver here. They're catching so much flack over what's going on in that region of the world that, hey, look at us. We're doing a good thing right now. That's all this is. He will shake his head, like verse 18 says, and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. So time is going to tell their exact motives for going there. And then when you hear the story start coming out, just watch for the articles the news clips and everything that denies what people are going to be saying is happening there. Whether things start coming up missing, this is things get looted. We saw what they did in Turkey and how they denied it. No, the local gave it to us. We didn't steal those 2 scrolls from the book of Esther. The locals gave it to us. So you got to keep your eye on these dudes. And why wouldn't you? I mean, when you got, I mean, like once again, I mean, look at that, man. I never, ever, just me personally, I don't know how much I would ever trust anyone to, if you don't see the whites in someone's eyes, look at this, man. Like, I mean, come on, man. Look at this shit here, man. But yeah, all right. I mean, I'm going to end it there. And I pray this has been edifying and reaches the ears it's supposed to reach. Shalom.